ESPN recently put out a list of the top trade candidates as we prepare for the trade deadline. I'm going to give you 3 starting pitching targets on that list that the Atlanta Braves should go after right now. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the comment down below. You also get to see all the goofs that I make while recording live, like pressing the wrong button. So make sure you subscribe there. Leave me a comment down below. But thank you so much for all those on the audio version, where we still get the majority of our listeners. You can help out by leaving me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. And big shout out to all my everydayers out there who've been with me for so long. Let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate all your support here at Locked On Braves. Today's episode, we're going to look at the top starting pitching trade candidates for the Atlanta Braves that really they need to go after right now. And so we got a list for ESPN. They put out their top trade candidate list. We're going to go through that, pick out some names. I asked you who are some of the names that you would pick out from that list. So I'll get some of those responses. We'll also take a trip around the league and see what's going on, who's at the top of the standings, top of the leaderboard. You're not going to find many or any Braves there, but we'll go through that and also set you up with the series against the Phillies happening this weekend. But let's jump into our main topic for today and look at the starting pitching trade candidates that are out there right now. And in case you missed it, ESPN, they put out a list of the top trade candidates that they think will be available at the deadline. And in that article, they also put the percentage chance on when those, on what they think the most likelihood of those pitchers being traded is. And so I went through that list. A lot of those were names we're already familiar with. A lot of them were names that we've already talked about. But I went through that list and picked out who I think are the main targets for the Atlanta Braves. And for me, again, especially, I think the Braves need to go make a move right now. I don't know how much longer you can wait. Brian Snitker's already said that Didier Fuentes is going to get another chance in the rotation. I just don't know how much longer you can wait and continue to hope that a 20-year-old figures it out at the big league level. If your other options in the minor leagues are that bad that you're rushing a 20-year-old up to the big leagues who clearly has some more development in them, then you need to go make a move, and you need to make a move right now. So again, and for me, as I've said on here plenty of times, it doesn't have to be a top of the rotation arm. I'm just looking for somebody to give you, 5-6 quality innings, keep you in the ball game, and it's not going to blow up your bullpen. So that's really what I'm looking for. So on this list, number 3, they have Sandy Alcantara. Number 4, they have Freddie Peralta. Number 6, they have Seth Lugo. 7, Zach Gallen. I'm not looking at any of those pitchers, although I would love to have any of them. But the first one that I go to is Merrill Kelly. And Merrill Kelly is actually a name I talked to. A couple of these names are names that I talked about a lot in the offseason as pitchers I thought the Braves should target. The Diamondbacks came into the year with a plethora of starting pitching candidates. Hasn't all worked out for the Diamondbacks, although they got a better record than the Braves. And what's funny about going through this exercise is that many of these teams we're talking about trying to trade with have better records than the Braves right now. This is all assuming that the Braves are going to continue on the trend they've been in, where they're playing better baseball and give themselves a chance towards the deadline. But the first name for me is Merrill Kelly. And this, to me, is the obvious perfect pick for what the Atlanta Braves need, and that they just need a veteran that you can count on to take the ball every fifth day. I know he had some injury hiccups last year, but for the most part, he's been really dependable at the big league level the last 4 or 5 years. But somebody that is going to take the ball, somebody is going to give you 5-6 innings, and somebody that is going to keep you in the ball game. And that's what Merrill Kelly can do for you. 36-year-old right-handed pitcher. ESPN gives him a 30% chance of being traded, so not high likelihood. And I'm guessing that's more so because the Diamondbacks are probably just going to go for it. 16 games started this year for Merrill Kelly, 3.39 ERA, 1.054 whip, 93 innings pitched, only 25 walks to 93 strikeouts. He's actually pitched above what I think his level of pitcher is. So you might be getting the regression of Merrill Kelly in the second half, but he's also just a good pitcher and has been for a while now. And like I said, it's nothing. I mean, could he pitch to a top of the middle, top of the rotation level? Yeah, he's done it before, but I'm mainly just looking for him as a guy to be a stabilizer in the rotation. Making $7 million this year, and then will be a free agent. So all of these guys that I'm mentioning here are going to be rental players. But to me, that's the top target for the Atlanta Braves. And again, you have to have a willing partner. That might not be one that you can do now because the Diamondbacks, like I said, have a better record than the Braves. They probably are going to go for it, even though they're in a tough division. But Merrill Kelly would make a lot of sense for me for the Atlanta Braves. The next one on this list is Zach Eflin, 31-year-old right-handed pitcher. They put him with a 75% chance of being traded. So it's almost definite that Zach Eflin is going to be moved by the Orioles before the trade deadline. And he's somebody I think you can go get now, because the Orioles are out of it. I mean, they have been quite dreadful. So they are out of it. You could go make this move now. I don't think it's going to cost you a lot. However, he's making $18 million this year, and then he's a free agent. So it's a rental player. It's a high AAV. You're going to have to get the Orioles to eat some of that money. But I think this is a guy you could go get now. 11 games started this year, 5.46 ERA, 1.38 whip, 61 innings, just 11 walks. He doesn't walk anybody. He never has, but only 42 strikeouts. He's not striking out anybody either. Now, he had a 3.59 ERA last year, a 3.50 ERA the year before that, and he has a 4.01 xERA this year. So this is a player that's maybe underperformed in the first half that could improve in the second half, that you could see those numbers get better. And that's what you're hoping for here if you were to go acquire Zach Eflin, the hope that he has the worst of this year behind him and that he's going to be better in the second half. So not my favorite necessarily of these choices because of the large money. So it would depend on, obviously what you're giving up, but also how much money you can get the Orioles to eat on that contract, especially the Braves are still trying to stay under the luxury tax. But this is an arm that I think you could go get right now if you can make the money and the package work together. Another one, this is a guy I talked about a lot in the offseason, Eric Fetty from the Cardinals, 32-year-old right-handed pitcher. They put it with a 50% chance of him getting traded. And it's another one that is just kind of a stabilizer. Nothing great here. 16 games started this year, a 4.11 ERA, a 1.36 whip, 87 2/3 innings, 38 walks, just 57 strikeouts. So again, not overpowering, but somebody that can give you a solid 5-6 innings and is going to keep you in the game. Too many walks this year, and the strikeouts are even down from last season. Last year he was coming back after playing foreign baseball for a while, I believe in the Korean League it was, and he came back, had some success, and he's still having, some decent success this year, but certainly things have not gone as well as they did the year before. $7.5 million this year, and then he's a free agent. So like I said, all of these guys are rentals, but could be pretty cheap option for the Atlanta Braves to go out and get an Eric Fetty and really help stabilize this rotation. All right, next we'll look at a couple other names. We'll also take a look around the league, and then we'll do the Phillies series preview here and the finale. All that coming up here next on the Locked On Braves podcast. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trademaster program. Every Trademaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. Thank you as always. Make Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen. Well, Lindsay will be on the game night this rest of this weekend, although you probably don't want to see the highlights from this Mets Braves games. It's getting uglier here. It's okay. We'll talk about that on the postcast. You want to hear about that game and you want that, go through that torture again, listen to the postcast, because I will not be covering that disaster here unless the Braves got a big comeback in them. But it's been an ugly one so far. But again, we'll cover that on the postcast. Check out Locked On MLB. They'll get you caught up with everything else happening around Major League Baseball. A couple of other starting pitching targets for the Atlanta Braves. Andrew Heaney, 34-year-old lefty. Tyler Anderson, 35-year-old lefty. Both these guys pretty similar, just some lefty veterans on rental deals. $5.25 million due for Andrew Heaney, $13 million for Tyler Anderson. Would just give you some, again, stabilizers that you're looking for. Give you 5, 6 innings. We need a little bit more than 4. Give you 5, 6 innings and just keep you in the ball game and just take the ball every 5th day. Those are guys that can certainly do that. That wouldn't cost you a lot prospect wise, although there is obviously some monetary value there for Tyler Anderson. I asked you though, what were some of your trade targets? So I'm going to list off some of those real quick before we get to our Around the League segment. Double A says, I really don't think we have the assets to go get any of the top guys, but let's go with bullpen arms in Santana and Maton, and for a nice utility guy, get IKF. So I like that as well, although you got to get a starter. The Big Mike says, any outfielder, literally any. Hopefully we're getting some help there soon. A lot of people like Jarren Duran. I don't see the Braves having the assets to go get a Jarren Duran. I don't think they have the kind of like what Double A was saying a minute ago. I don't think they have the assets to get the top guys like Duran, like Freddie Peralta, like Aroldis Chapman. I just don't see that happening. Same, Tyler Masters said the same thing. We don't have the prospect to swing big. So Nick Martinez, I think you can get him for cheap. It's a pitcher from the Reds. I think he got $21.3 million though. He accepted that qualifying offer. So he's making a good bit of money. I mentioned Jake Bird from the Rockies. We faced him a few times now. We've gotten to him a few times, but he's been the Rockies' best closer. And then Soroka for the Vibes. I've been kind of on the Soroka train for a while now. I think you go get him, put him back in the bullpen and see what he can do, where he was really good last year. You could certainly use him as a starter if you wanted to, but I don't mind going and getting Soroka. Now he's making decent money this year as well. I believe it's $9 million, but I don't mind Soroka. Colin Moses says Heaney, Mullins, and Chapman, recognizing that's a long shot. Wendy says Felix Bautista, Pete Fairbanks, and Taylor Ward. Those are some pretty big swings right there. From most to least realistic, in my opinion, from Ender NCR fan, Charlie Morton, Josh Smith, and Aroldis Chapman. I know Morton's been a popular one here lately. Again, he's making pretty good monetary money this year, $15 million. So I don't know that that's realistic either. Calvin Fenner, realistically, Chapman, Clase, Heaney, Anderson. I think those first two are probably unrealistic. Another one for Jarren Duran. Steve Lamb says, my wish list is Cedric Mullins, Sandy Alcantara, Luis Roberts. That's a pretty big wish list, and says who they will probably get, Zach Eflin, who's on my list. So, yeah, I think it's more likely going to be Eflin. I don't see them especially if they are where they are, where they're just kind of on the verge of possibly being contenders. They're not going to swing big unless it's a guy that has multiple years of control. Jamin says Alcantara, Clase, Duran. That's a pretty big swing there. Braves and Bama also mentioned Morton and Soroka. I think it's going to be somebody of that ilk. Thomas B, Andrew Heaney, and IKF. Mentioned those two. Hayden Harris says Peralta, Duran, and Littell from the Rays. He's another one I like as well, Zach Littell. Rays are in it, though. They're on a run right now. I don't know how much they're going to be looking to trade off. So those are some of the names that are out there that the Braves could be looking at the upcoming trade deadline. Now, taking a look around the league, who's going to be available, who's going to be sellers, who's going to be buyers. Braves still could be very much buyers. You look at the NL East standings right now. The Mets 47-34, the Phillies 47-34 as we record, although the Mets are about to go to 48-34, take a half game lead in the NL East, but it looks like it's going to be a fun 2-team race in the NL East. Just Braves aren't going to be part of it. In the NL Central, the Cubs are 48-33, 3 games up on the Brewers, 4.5 games up on the Cardinals, and 6 games up on the Reds. All 4 of those teams have winning records. Must be nice. In the NL West, the Dodgers are 51-31, 6 games up on the Padres, 6.5 games up on the Giants. Man, this is an awful offensive performance the Braves are putting on right now. It is sickening. The Diamondbacks 41-39. They're 9 games back despite having a winning record there. And in the AL East, Yankees are 46-34. The Rays are 46-35. They've been on an absolute tear. They've almost caught the Yankees. Look like the Yankees were just going to cakewalk through the AL East this year, and they still might. But the Rays run they've been on, that's the type of run the Braves need right now, what the Rays are doing. Look, if the Rays can do it, Braves can do it, right? But they've been on an absolute big winning streak here lately. Blue Jays are 43-47, just 3 games back, and the Red Sox have lost 5 in a row. You know, you trade your best offensive player, guess what? Your offense is going to suffer, and it has for the Red Sox, who got swept by the Angels. The AL Central, the Tigers are 51-31. The Guardians, 9.5 games back. The AL Central feels like it is absolutely done. AL West is kind of getting there. The Astros are 48-33. The Mariners are the closest at 41-39, 6.5 games back. I just mentioned the Angels. They're 40-40. They are 500. They're still 7.5 games back, though, in the AL West. The Rangers 40-41 are 8 games back. You look at the division or look at the hitting leaders and pitching leaders. Batting average leader, Aaron Judge at 361, Jacob Wilson 345, Jonathan Aranda 329. If you hear me crying, it's because this offense is just dreadful to watch. Will Smith 325, Jeremy Pena 324. OPS leaders, Judge 1180, Cal Raleigh 1031, Ohtani 1025, Will Smith 955, James Wood of the Nationals 927, having a big year. Home run leaders, Cal Raleigh 32, Judge 28, Ohtani 28, Suarez 25, Schwarber 24. F4 leaders, Judge 6.1, Cal Raleigh 5.4, and then you got PCA, Jeremy Pena, and Ohtani at 4. So Judge and Raleigh are putting on some big seasons right now. Cal Raleigh 32 home runs already this year. He is on a huge pace right now for the Mariners. So somebody's getting those home runs. It's not the Atlanta Braves, but some players are still getting those home runs. On the pitching side of things, Hunter Brown leads all of baseball with a 1.74 ERA. Max Fried, 1.92 ERA. Garrett Crochet, 2.06. Jacob deGrom, 2.08. He took a no-hitter into the 8th inning the other day, so Jacob deGrom still has that good stuff. Paul Skeens, 2.12 ERA, although he got outdueled by Jacob Mizorowski the other day. Watched the beginning of that one, and the Brewers put up a 4 spot on the Brewers put up a 4 spot on Paul Skeens in like the 3rd or 4th inning of that game, and Mizorowski has just been a lot of fun to watch. Whip leaders, Tarek Skubal 0.87, DeGrom 0.88, Joe Ryan 0.89, Hunter Brown 0.89, and Paul Skeens 0.91. Strikeout leaders, Crochet 135, Gore 129, Wheeler 126, Skubal 125, and Webb 120. That was the one category where you were hopeful to see a Braves pitcher, but Chris Sale injured now, so no longer in the top of the strikeout leaderboard. F4 leaders at the pitcher spot, Skubal 3.81, Webb 3.4, Skeens 3.4, Crochet 3.4, and then Wheeler and Fried are tied at 3. So, boy, would it be nice to have Max Fried in your rotation right now to go with Schwellenbach, Strider, the rest of these guys, but not to be, as he got the big contract with the Yankees. Boy, would it be nice to get a Crochet, but not to be, as they just didn't have the prospects or the willingness to go out and get him. Look, it would have cost you Drake Baldwin. Obviously, they want Drake Baldwin right now, but Garrett Crochet's been every bit as good as I thought he would be, and maybe even better. So Braves missing out on some pitching there, and it's really difficult to look at the leaderboard here and not see a Brave up here. And look, pitching side too, Schwellenbach and Sale are both close. Obviously, Sale now being injured is going to knock him out of that. But it's just, you can't be a good team if you don't have great players. I know that's seen as a nod statement of the night, but they don't have the guys getting it done. Obviously, if Acuna qualified, he'd be at the top of the leaderboard for a lot of these categories, but he doesn't. And the rest of the players just haven't picked it up enough to really get the job done. So really frustrating season. You're not getting the results that you want on the field, and you're not having players that are producing to the level that they should be. I mean, I know 2023 has been a while ago now, but I did this list in 2023 on Thursdays when we did around the league segments, and Braves players were all over these leaderboards. And last year they were all over the pitcher leaderboards, but now you're not seeing them on any of them. And it tells you the state of where this team is right now. But they're going to try to pick themselves up. Like I said, the goal right now, get to as close to 500 as you can before the All-Star break. They've at the very least earned a split of this series in New York, which is what we were kind of hoping for coming in, although it's a bit of a letdown after you win the first two games of that series. But now you're going back home to face a Phillies team. Their offense has been struggling. Hopefully you can take advantage of that. And then you got an easy schedule leading up to the All-Star break. So they got an opportunity here, but they got to get it done on the field, and they need their stars, to be some of the best players in baseball. And for the most part, outside of Acuna and Matt Olson, haven't been getting it done. So next we'll get into that Phillies preview and see what the Braves can do here coming up back home for this homestand. We'll do that here next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights like me, or you like a little bit of golf on the green, or maybe some high-stakes soccer action, I got no idea what that looks like, but maybe you do. FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. That's me. I'm your friend. I've been using, if you've been using FanDuel, you keep track of your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Even if you're having to sit through this terrible Mets and Braves game tonight, you could have something to maybe get you excited. Whether you're placing a same game parlay, watching a bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. Also, please make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. We'll have one more podcast this week. We'll have our mailbag episode on Friday. I'll send out a tweet from LockedOn_Braves on X Friday morning. Submit your question to that tweet to be answered in our Friday afternoon mailbag episode. Witty at Banter 96, who's always optimistic, says the Braves are going to come back in this one. So I hope you're right, Witty. I hope so, because this has been one of the worst games to watch all year long. But hopefully that is going to change when the Braves return back home to face the Philadelphia Phillies, who are coming off getting swept by the Houston Astros in a 3-game series where they scored a total of 1 run. You think this offense is bad to watch right now? The Phillies fans just had to sit through a 3-game series where they scored 1 run. So hopefully that continues. Obviously, they've been without Bryce Harper since Spencer Strider hit him in that elbow. He could return for the series, and wouldn't that be so fitting if Bryce Harper comes back for the series, gets his revenge on Spencer Strider and the Braves, and gets that Phillies offense going? That just seems very on par for the course with what the Braves have had this season. They also got swept by the Pirates earlier this month. I did not realize that. They haven't had the best month of June either. They certainly have had some ups and downs. A rough start for them. They won 4 straight series in the middle of the month, but then getting swept by the Astros here. And like I said, the offense really struggling. On the season, the offense has been really good. 8th in batting average, 4th in on-base percentage, but just 13th in slugging percentage, with just 16th in home runs. You would not think that with that Phillies lineup with Bryce Harper. Again, I know he's been out for a little while now. Kyle Schwarber, all the big bats, Trey Turner, Castellanos, all the big bats they have in that lineup. You would not think they're 16th in home runs. They're also 8th in stolen bases, though. They got a lot of guys that can run on that team. They have the 10th fewest strikeouts, so they don't strike out a ton, and the 8th most walks, so they walk a good bit. So, again, when everybody's healthy, when Bryce Harper's back in there, this is easily a top 10 offense, but they have been struggling here lately. And matter of fact, their hottest hitters here lately have been Kyle Schwarber with an 806 OPS, Bryson Stott with an 812 OPS, and Brandon Marsh with an 800 OPS. And those latter two guys, they don't even necessarily play every day as left-handed hitters. They'll sit against lefties. So they have not had a lot of success here lately at the plate. But again, that could all change very quickly if Bryce Harper is put back into the lineup. The bullpen for the Phillies, Orion Kerkering and Matt Strahm, have been splitting save chances here as of late. But Jordan Romano, it's been an up and down season for him, but he's been good over the last couple of weeks. And those numbers a minute ago, I know I do this all the time, so I take for granted you know what I'm talking about. But when I'm talking about who's hot, I'm looking at numbers from the past 2 weeks. So those OPS numbers I just gave you for Schwarber, Stott, and Marsh, those are all for over the past 2 weeks. Same for Jordan Romano, who's been really good over the past 2 weeks, but has had an up and down season. But Kerkering, Strom, those are going to be your go-to guys. And while Strom's gotten save chances over the last couple of weeks, he has also had an ERA over 5. So bullpen's been a bit of a struggle for them as well. You look at the pitching matchups in this series. Bryce Elder versus Mick Abel, Spencer Schwellenbach versus Jesus Luzardo, and Spencer Strider versus Ranger Suarez. Now, you look at those pitching matchups on paper, you're not getting Zach Wheeler. That is the obvious one in here. And so you feel pretty good about your chances. I mean, you're getting maybe your 2 best starters right now in Schwellenbach and Strider. So you feel decent about your chances, at least in the Elder matchup. You're getting a kid in Mick Abel, who I know is throwing the ball well at times this year. But I don't hate the pitching matchups that the Braves are getting in this series, all things considered. Mick Abel, 3.47 ERA this year in just 5 starts, 23 and a third innings, just 18 strikeouts, but a 1.16 ERA because he's not walking anybody, just 6 walks, has given up 3 home runs, but he's given up 21 hits in 14 and a third innings, I'm looking at the wrong card there. I was like, that doesn't make sense. A 253 batting average against for Mick Abel. So he's given up a ton of hits, but just 1 home run and only 4 walks. But again, it's a matchup you don't mind. And Bryce Elder versus Mick Abel there. And obviously Schwellenbach, Strider, you feel pretty good about those chances. Although, with the way that Ranger Suarez pitches against the Braves, that one's probably an auto loss. And he's been really good this year as well, a 2.08 ERA. But you miss Christopher Sanchez. You miss Zach Wheeler. You feel pretty good about your chances. Jesus Luzardo, who got off to a hot start, his ERA is over 4 now as he's been struggling as of late. And you're getting your best pitcher in Schwellenbach going up against him. So I don't mind these matchups against the Phillies. But again, it comes down to, can they hit enough? Can they score enough runs to give their pitchers the support that they need? Is this dreadful offense that we've seen the past 2 nights in New York, is that going to carry on for weeks at a time like we've seen in the past? I mean, this offense has given us glimpses like they did in the first 2 games of this series, but we've seen far longer stretches of futility on the offensive side of things. And so when you see 2 games like this, unless they're going to have a great back top of the 9th inning right here, you've seen far too many stretches of this offense looking like they have these last 2 games. And you just hope that doesn't continue as they come back home. You got to have better at bats. You've got to be able to put up some runs early on these starters, give your starters some support, and then add on late. You just got to get more from this offense. I mean, it's plain and simple. If that does not happen, this team's not going anywhere. It is on. We can talk about the starting pitching as we did, and they need to get help in the rotation for sure. But if this offense can't get it together so that you can win games, despite your starters not being able to go deep, despite your starters giving up 2-3 runs, nothing is going to change. At some point, your offense has got to step up and win some of these games for you. So there's not so much stress on the rotation to be perfect every time out there. And if that doesn't happen, this team is going nowhere, and we just haven't seen it happen enough this season. But again, I'm hopeful. I want to be there where Whitty is in the comments section, feeling very optimistic about this team. And I am hopeful, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not very optimistic right now with this squad that this offense is going to be able to get it done. All right, that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Again, catch the postcast. We'll talk about Game 4 against the Mets, but between the Mets and the Braves. Hopefully you're getting a big comeback here in the top of the 9th inning. Subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next.